Thank you, everyone. It's 2 o'clock, and my name is Brian Coaster. I'm here with Dan Love. Dan, say hello.
Hello.
So we are excited to talk to you guys a little bit about the pivot to purchases of 2021. With market conditions and the nature of the real estate industry right now, I think everyone's busy, but at the same time, we have a lot of lenders and a lot of clients who know and understand that the refinances will not last forever and are trying to figure out how to get into purchases. So, man, Dan, you want to talk a little bit about that? Like what you're seeing with lenders interested in going into purchase market?
Yeah, there's a few things that they're looking to do. One is just to get into some kind of consumer direct marketing platform that they can control. The other is to help train new loan officers. There's only, especially now with COVID, there's just not a lot you can do with a new loan officer. I think the average age of loan officers is 51 years old. Finding a way to keep some of the young blood busy, get them some reps, get them talking to people, get them actually doing loans. You can't send them to a real estate office to meet with 20 realtors anymore and hope, they can connect. So it's been a challenge for some of the lenders on what to do and grow their branches and train new people. So that's another big one.
That's right. So, and guys, we're going to go over that a little bit. So this webinar is 30 minutes, and basically, what Dan and I are going to do is just talk to you about what we've seen in the market, what we see our clients and lenders as well as real estate agents, experiencing, and then just kind of, what we've seen as a path. We've been doing this for a couple of years now within the lead space, and just sort of a path forward for some of the mortgage, for some of the real estate agents and mortgage clients. So let's jump right into it, because I think some information to get the market trends and just sort of what the consumer expectations, market trends, and just the general direction of things. So if you guys see, 90% of buyers start online with shopping for a home, right? So if you think if somebody's interested in purchasing a property, they are starting online. Statistically, 85% of buyers do not have a real estate agent when seeking a mortgage pre-approval and actually submitting their information, right? So if you think about when somebody goes to LendingTree, if somebody goes to Zillow, if somebody goes to a lead aggregator website, somebody's browsing online, they say, hey, you know what, I actually am interested in buying a house. 85% do not have a real estate agent. So they're just kind of starting the process. And in starting this process, buyers expecting a customer experience just like any other service. So if you think about it from a customer experience standpoint, if you have a company that you're working with, you expect an orchestrated experience. That means not only that you'll have somebody that reaches out, that you'll have somebody that follows up, that you'll have customer support, and that's just really the expectation set by your normal online company, right, or your normal business. I mean, it's nothing crazy. And then buyers expect specific tools during the different phases of the home buying process. So if you think about buyers when they're searching for a home, they're going to want MLS and home drip search. When they're looking for a rate, they're going to want information on the home mortgage rates and things of that nature. And then also when they're getting ready to move in, what that process looks like. We talk about kind of the coming digital mortgage revolution, but really what I see is just kind of the simple basics. And Dan and I, we talk about it all the time, where it's more or less just advanced basics. And Dan, maybe you go into a little bit of that, what you're seeing from lenders and what the expectations are for buyers when they're coming into this process.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the consumer direct space, just a real wide overview of it. I get a lot of questions on, which market we should be in, who's going to be working these leads and how is this going to work and all this stuff. And the real true answer is none of that matters. It doesn't matter who the loan officer is. It doesn't matter at all. Which market, which state you're in. It doesn't have to be your state. The realtor doesn't really matter. The process matters and the effort matters. So having a process in place, obviously a script would help. Having some basic ability to take an application on the lender side, and then having the realtor in place, having a lot of these other tools in place, helping the buyer with their credit, whatever it takes to get them to being pre-qualified in the future. Which really is just the fundamentals, right? I mean, it's just setting appropriate follow-up dates, having some type of messaging that continues to go out, just to talk to the client originally. I mean, it's effort, right? It's phone calls. It's actually trying to get a hold of the buyer, which is really, once again, just the basics. Having a CRM, making phone calls, having a follow-up system, all these things is really just what it comes down to. It's no secret, right? I mean, it's just the basics.
That's right. So, and when you look at the lead aggregation market, right? So there's a broad market of service providers and lead aggregation providers. You have companies like LendingTree, Zillow. You've got people who do Google ads, Facebook, Instagram ads, and then you have email lists and things of that nature. But I mean, the reality is that within these, it's a broad market, meaning that everyone's has a different skill set, and there's different parties involved that make up the overall marketplace. So when you think about the lead aggregators, some companies like LendingTree or Zillow or Facebook, they're very good at attracting traffic, right? But they don't actually provide the service, right? They're typically selling, meaning like a company like Zillow gets 23 million pre-approval mortgage requests per year. So it's 23 million. So it's 200,000 a month. There's no way they can service even, because they do have a mortgage company, even 2% of that. So there's a huge market. Same thing with LendingTree. And the problem is not that the buyers aren't interested in purchasing properties. It's not that the leads of buyers aren't interested in moving forward. The problem is that there's a gap between the lead aggregators not being able to provide the service they're selling, and then the service providers not understanding nuances of how to support the lead aggregators. So if you think, LendingTree, Zillow, all of these companies, they can get you the traffic, they can get you the buyers who are actually interested. It's just how do you intake those so that you can support them? And we're going to go into a little bit about that in the next slide. So if you look at the this is a general view of the market. You have lead aggregators who are targeting and attracting buyers who are looking to purchase a home. So these lead aggregators are using homes for sale in the market area. They're using home financing options. They're using down payments and rate tables and all those things to attract those buyers and put them through buyer funnels, which do a variety of things, right? So buyers, and this is just, if you look at Zillow, if you look at LendingTree, if you look at, Facebook, I mean, all the lead aggregators follow the same similar sort of pattern, which is you have browsers, buyers browsing homes for sale on the MLS, buyers looking at homes, buyers looking for mortgage and financing options, buyers looking to relocate, buyer looking to do home tours, and then buyers looking to get pre-qualification or down payment assistance information. And so you say, okay, well, you look at the broad market of the internet, they have all these funnels that fit very nicely into a mortgage company or a real estate agent's sort of repertoire in buying a house. It's just that from that top funnel, how do you actually go about sorting and engaging with these buyers? And that's kind of what Dan was hinting at earlier, and what we're going to go into next, is to say, okay, well, if you think about the skills gap, so the lead aggregators are attracting the traffic, and that's kind of the first step. And then you say the service providers have to do the nuances of the work, and that's sort of the second step. And then the buyers just want the consistency, right? So we'll talk about that kind of third step. So if you look at it from a process, buyers, when they're coming in, expect certain things and certain engagement methodologies, in the sense that it's a life event, right? So buying a house, getting married, having a child, all of those things fall into this sort of massive life event category. And they to successfully get buyers through this process, there needs to be both a documented process as well as procedures to support the entire the entire process. And Dan, we talked a little bit about that. It's nothing overly complicated, right? And Dan, so with it not being overly complicated, what do you see lenders and real estate agents kind of do and not do when engaging with buyers? Like, what do you see the better teams do, and then what do you see the not so good teams do?
Well, there's one thing that stands out, and just a little background from kind of where I'm coming from on some of this. The realtors, brokerages are really strong at. I mean, really, all they do is teach their realtors how to sell, right? They do scripts and trainings and role playing, and they do it once a week, and it's mandatory at some of these brokerages. Keller Williams has a class where it's you kind of get you over the fear of calling. They make you call your enemy in front of everyone in the class while you're in class. So there's the one thing that some of the lenders kind of aren't doing is utilizing some of the scripts, taking some of these people that are beginning their search and having more of a conversation with them. These people are really starting off with the idea that they're going to buy a home possibly in the next 10 to 12 months. But then once they get, so they're not quite ready sometimes. And sometimes they just need the right questions to open them up, to get them talking about other things. But once these people get pre-qualified, right? Once they, that brings their time frame down to, 6-7 months. And then once they look at a house, I mean, they're down to 3 months. So it's really just kind of understanding where these people are coming from, using some of the correct language and questions, practicing, right? I mean, this there is something to just being a good salesman. There's also just something to just straight effort, right? I mean, at some point, the people who really try and the people who call with the correct strips, with the correct understanding of where the buyer is, have a lot more success in bringing them through the funnel all the way down to home purchase.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so when you look at this, with any lead, right? So we work leads with all the lead aggregators. We have processes in place, and what we're kind of showing you guys is just sort of both the best practices of what we found works, as well as what buyers sort of expect, right? Like if you bought a house, and you get to order something on Amazon, or when you order something online, or if you go to a store, you expect, a process. You expect them to have things sort of ready. You expect them to have the forms ready to go. You expect them to have, the bags ready for checkout, right? And all those things. Well, it's no different on the real estate side or when the buyer lead side. So you think, having a real estate agent ready for the buyer to get them out looking at properties, having, loan officers available on Saturdays and Sundays to issue pre-approval letters for buyers who want to go and view properties over the weekend, having loan officers available over the weekends because most buyers shop on the weekends and, want to be able to do that. Having the ability to fulfill the financing requests or as a real estate company, the tour requests, and then, engaging with them in multiple ways. The loan officers are generally very good at taking the applications and doing the financing, not that good at consistency with the sales calls, not that good at the follow-up processes. So putting in processes and that's why we kind of have an inside sales team, both to engage with the buyers, but also sort of keep people on track. And then from that, you get bottom funnel leads that are ready to go. And then we talked about kind of a timeline, but this is something that is important when you're understanding leads, right? So we looked at 1,000 leads, and we looked at them, over a period of a year. We looked at them over a period of 2 years, and then we looked at them over a period over 90 days, right? And taking snapshots of kind of the different lead stage status changes over that time period. And what you find is that people end up buying houses, right? So if you've ever, worked with lead aggregators and purchases, they do end up buying houses. They just don't typically end up buying with the person they originally talked to, because that person is not usually in touch with them anymore because they just stopped following up, they stopped re-engaging, they lost touch. And that just, I think, comes from not, anything other than understanding the nature of buyers and all the little nuances that's happening during the home buying process. So if you think most people start browsing a home, so that's going to start online. That's going to start with companies, like the Homes for Sale, your MLS sites. And that could be, one day and I put 10 plus years, but that could be years to where they're just kind of looking online, and they're looking online and they're just kind of searching for a home. The real estate agents, they may or may not have a real estate agent at that time. And then, they're generally right before they're looking to actually start shopping, are going to seek a pre-approval. And that's when the lenders usually come into the program. And then from a home shopping, and then you see this all the time. I mean, from that initial pre-approval, you have buyers, who are shopping for all sorts of reasons, right? And what is the typical buyer? If you just think about what is the typical buyer looking? How long are they looking for? What are the different reasons? I put 1 day to 2 years because, we have buyers who are ready to go right away. We have other buyers who are moving, from other states who want a more of a longer process. But what do you see?
Yeah, a lot of leads are, first-time home buyers. So they're excited to buy a home. I think everyone is excited inherently about trying to buy a home. They want to know their options. They definitely, they have leases, but they get apprehensive, right? I mean, it's like you said, it's a life event, and some are just really excited and ready to go. Others are apprehensive. That excitement is nervousness, and they can, sometimes it takes them 2 weeks to call you back, but they don't forget about the dream of buying a home, which is another big point that I want to bring up, is that I think we have it's like 17% end up buying past 4 or 5 months after their initial pre-approval. So when you are in the lead game for the purchases, you have to understand there's almost a 1 in 5 of these people are way out. But the positive to that is also that when you have a pipeline of these buyers, and you keep adding them, every month, you end up with a pipeline for the next 6 to 8 months, and it's it's nice if you have 50 pre-approved buyers floating around, and handful every month end up going under contract. It's everyone's on their own timeline. I mean, there's so many reasons, but
yeah, and that's
you're right.
a good point, Dan. So you brought up, and that's my next slide actually. So I'm going to pivot to my next slide on that. So people are on their own timeline. So for lenders who are normally dealing with refinances traditionally, right? You're on a like streamline refi, 14 days funded, right? So normal refi, 14 to maybe 30, 60 days. People buying a house, very different. They don't necessarily want to get it done fast, because there's a whole host of reasons and we'll go into that reason. So this is something that we monitor, but there's various home buying stages, right? So common delays, and I group some of these because there's a whole bunch of little small ones, but I group some of these because this kind of gives you an idea of what the buyers. So the buyers are interested in purchasing a property, they're ready to go, and this is just kind of assuming it's several thousand records, but so you say out of 100 leads, they want to buy a property, they're interested, they're ready to go. Oh wait, there's a delay. Well, what's the delay? Well, a lot of times, there's lease obligations, so that they're waiting on a lease to expire. That could be 3, 6 months, 9 months later. Social distancing, we have people who are just saying, hey, no, social distancing. We got a lot of credit score issues. So like first-time home buyers, they generally, some of them have never had their credit pulled. Some of them have only had their credit pulled once or twice. They're not really sure. That's a big factor. Saving for a down payment. And then just limited marketability. So limited supply, and then limited at price points. So there's just some areas where there's just no homes for sale. In the Gaithersburg, Kentlands area where I live, there's a community that has there's 1,700 homes, and there's one home for sale in that whole market out of the 1,700. Others, they're actively viewing properties. They're actively making offers. They're just limited. They're one of 5 offers, and they've just got to kind of put it into you got to just manage it over a period of several months, and that's where kind of the long-term engagement comes into play. And Dan, you mentioned sort of over and over again that you've seen people, you've seen all sorts of experiences when it comes to buyers that some people have really success and don't have that much experience. Some people have a lot of experience, but you've seen people with successful time with the common theme of that they just sort of do the work. But any tips on that, like what you see as far as doing the work, like best practices and sort of frequency, how many times they should call, how many times they should email, when you see people re-engage, like you mentioned some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I'll point out one thing that sometimes goes overlooked is there is a point with a lot of leads of nervousness in the beginning, and they might be unresponsive. But once again, to my point before, where even the leads, they don't give up on the idea. So there is even a reemergence, 60, 90 days later. I mean, to not contact a lead that didn't reply again after 60 or 90 days is just not a good practice. I mean, there's still a lead that needs to be engaged with again. There's a whole host of things. I mean, we have a very successful agent, a loan officer that we work with, who is just kind of a different breed. But I mean, he comes in and he does 20 to 30 purchases loans a month with an assistant, and he just knocks the cover off the ball. I mean, he has an ad spend, and he comes in and he makes his 40 or 50 calls a day. I mean, his process is perfect, and it's probably not something that many people can even replicate, his level of focus. But I mean, if you can do it, if you have the system, if you can make the calls, if you have the focus, if you respond and follow up, and yeah, I mean, you just can't follow up enough, really. Another point too, a lot of these people, I mean, it happens to me all the time. I'll get a phone call, I won't answer it. I'll get the voicemail and be like, yeah, I am interested in that, but not right now. I'm not available right now. If they never call me back, I'm probably not going to call them back, but after 3 or 4 calls, I recognize the number, I know who's calling me, and when I'm ready for the conversation, I'm going to have it. So whether, whether someone picks up the phone or not is just kind of irrelevant. Doesn't mean they're not interested. But a phone call is really how you make a connection. It's really how you make a lead a client. You got to have that meaningful conversation, and you don't have to be, you don't have to be the smoothest operator in the world. They're not expecting, the best loan officer in the world to call them. They are just expecting someone with knowledge and persistence and effort to call them and give them information and have some kind of relationship with, for when they are ready to move forward. So yeah, that's my little feedback there.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. That's a good. We got to wrap up in a minute or two. But to Dan's point, so do the work, and then phone, email, text, and then using just the basics of some CRM to track everyone. To track everyone. So that is, on every single person having their contact information, some sort of stage as to the status of the file or the status of the lead, some sort of sub-stage, meaning like, this person's interested, but at the same time, they're looking for 3 to 6 months. Or this person's saving for a down payment and is limited at their price point. So some sort of, and then just notes and a follow-up date. So the basics, and we're trying to lay it out so that it's as clean as possible. But the basics really win in this game. The buyers are interested in purchasing properties, and with the nature of the marketplace right now, it's kind of funny where we get loan officers and real estate agents who sell us on why leads don't work, why calling, and you should only work in your sphere, and you only should work with local people, etc. And then we make the calls, we do the work, and it works great. They love it. I mean, buyers are starting online. So there's a big misconception in the market on kind of the nature of the relationships with the lead aggregators, as well as sort of the quality of the leads. The leads work if you work them. And they work a lot better because you can scale your business anywhere. I mean, you can go anywhere in the country, and buyers are looking at properties, and they need local experts. And the lead aggregators need good vendor partners to work with that can support their buyers. Like, and I use the example of Zillow all the time. Zillow gets 2.5 million buyers a month who are interested in purchasing a property through their platform. There's not a lender in the country that could support that. All right, even if Freedom, Loan Depot, Quicken, Fairway, Independent combined forces, they wouldn't even be able to do 20% of that volume. So they need help, right? Same thing with Lending Tree. They need help. And so, just, wrapping up, is, we'll send a copy out to everybody, but, that the buyers are looking, and buyers are looking to purchase a home, and looking for quality mortgage companies and quality real estate agents to use for their process. And they're starting online. And that's kind of the thing. Dan, any closing remarks?
No, but yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's loan officers can lend anywhere, right? I mean, realtors are really the only ones who are limited to their, to their little 20-mile radius or whatever. But yeah, loan officers can lend anywhere. I mean, there's almost no advantage of only marketing in your one area. I mean, it's almost just selling yourself short. I mean, you can market anywhere you want, and not as many lenders take advantage of that.